from Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta.
Hold on. And you can start now.
So today's interview is with Ian Barteaux from Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta. Ian used to play for the Fort Saskatchewan Traders of the AJHL, Kootenay Ice of the WHL, University of Alberta Golden Bears of the CWUAA, Backersfield Condors, Fort Wayne Komets, and Atlanta Gladiators of the ECHL. Wow, you've been around.
Yeah, man. I've traveled a couple kilometers because of hockey. The three last stops were I was in Backersfield during school after we won a national championship, and then went into the Avalanche farm system after that. The Oilers didn't pick me back up. They wanted me to go back, but I needed to finish school, finish my degrees. I was, I think, 2 classes away or 3 classes away. And when you're riding the momentum of school, it's good just to finish what you started. I don't know if I would have finished it, to be quite honest. I'd have to go back to school after I discontinued playing hockey versus starting my career right away. So yeah, it was a cool experience. It was a cool experience going from winning a national championship to then playing professional hockey.
So we're going to dive right into the question. So out of all the teams you've played for, what team did you enjoy playing on the most?
That's a good question. You know what? I can't say the most, but I love playing for the Bears. It was an addiction to win. We won all the time, so that was really fun, but it was also very, very hard. That was probably some of the most dedicated, intense, competitive hockey I played. It's an entirely different world, school hockey, because there's only 2 games a week, so you're competing more against your own teammates than you are against other opponents. And then I would have to say my next most fun experience is playing in Atlanta. That was a blast, especially when I knew I was going to retire. I had a ton of fun. Actually, you know what? Playing for the Generals when I played my senior hockey. So I think that was the all-time best experience that I had, just because I had no stress. I could do stuff that maybe a coach would pull his hair out and sit you or trade you, but when you're playing for gas money, it's there's a little less stress there. If you play that weekend, you play that weekend, and if you don't, you don't. You're not really too concerned about it. So you're kind of stepping outside the pigeonhole or the box that you've been playing in for so long, and starting playing like you would at maybe the outdoor rink or with your buddies, or doing stuff you would try because you know the repercussions are not going to be nearly as severe.
So what league did you like to play in the most? Which
league did I like playing the most? You know what? I like playing professional hockey the most, by far. It's an all-encompassing lifestyle, especially when I was down south. You know, you go sit by the pool in, January if you want. It was pretty cool. It was a good experience. So while you were up here freezing your tail off, I was playing football across the pool. So I would say playing professional hockey was by far the most fun.
During your time playing, is there a team that stands out to you that showed a lot of chemistry?
A team that showed a lot of chemistry? Definitely when I played for the Bears. You're playing with guys for 5 years with a like-minded mentality and the same coaching style. So expectations are very, very clear, and accountability is really, really high. So the chemistry develops very quickly. It was especially my first year when I was there. It was probably one of our most skilled teams, where we had drills where you weren't allowed to handle the puck. It all had to be one touches. So it was pretty cool. And then it turned into one-touch sauce. I still can't one-touch sauces, so I was more or less shooting grenades out there. But the skills have gotten a little bit better over the years.
Do you have a coach that you can say that you like to play for the most, or that taught you the most growing up?
Yeah, I think if I was to look out through my entire hockey career, I had some pretty influential coaches at different points in my life, and this is going to kind of speak more to you and to the younger crowds, but there's going to be some coaches that you look back on that have taken you under their wing, have seen something special in you, and have given you that extra little skill to do. So one was Jim Carr. He taught me how to backwards skate, backwards crossovers. That was kind of something that he brought me aside and said, "Hey, I want you to do this." And I was like the first person on the team to do it, and this kind of stuff. And he also told me, I think I got my first like fight when I was in Adam. And this guy I was competing against, and we just kind of cage raced a little bit. And he told me, and I never forgot this. He said, "If you're going to hit him effing hard." And he was livid at me. He was so mad, and I always remember that. And that was something even when I was playing hockey where you could scrap. Was if you're gonna hit him effing hard. So that was one coach, and then I had another coach that taught me work ethic. So when I was playing Pee Wee, Dan Conlon is his name, and he taught me how to work hard. That work ethic is going to take you farther than your stick handling will. So all we did in that year was skate. That's all we did. Like I could literally tell you the practice drill by drill, verbatim, all the way to the very end, because we did the exact same thing every single time we went on the ice. And that was something that I really started to enjoy, the feeling of pain in my legs. When I was skating, it almost feels like you got meat hooks in your quads and they're just getting ripped out. That was the feeling every single practice. And I really got to learn to enjoy that. And that really helped me be a more competitive hockey player, because I wasn't going to allow fatigue to give me the possibility of losing. If anything, my skill was going to kind of let me down, but not my work ethic or my will. So those two coaches were extremely influential in terms of allowing me to be successful throughout my career. And then as I kind of move forward, just every coach you kind of take little pieces from. There's always lots of glorified war stories, and there's good coaches and there's bad coaches. Another coach that I learned a lot about hockey in terms of hockey IQ was Ian Herbers. I learned a ton of hockey IQ from him. I wouldn't say one of my favorite coaches, but definitely one of the coaches that really accelerated the learning curve for me. Expectations were extremely high at U of A, and if I didn't understand what every pawn piece was doing on the board or on the ice, then I wasn't playing. So he taught me a lot about my hockey IQ, which allowed me to be a better professional in terms of understanding game strategy, and then allowed me to have 1,000 times more fun when I was playing senior hockey, because I understood everything that was going on the ice and where guys would be, and my creativeness allowed myself to be a more dynamic player at that level. Good. That was a long answer, eh? Jesus.
Yeah. It was a good answers too. So what team did you play on that had the most exciting fans?
That's a wicked question. Definitely not Atlanta, because there was like a quarter of the bowl filled. Even though they were pretty rowdy, there wasn't a whole lot there. Fort Wayne was pretty sick, to be quite honest. We had about 12,000 fans. I think we had the highest average in the East Coast. So it was always rocking and rolling at the Komets. U of A, you know what? Because I also lived on campus, U of A was rowdy. So I lived at St. Joe's boys dorm. this Catholic dorm because I had to be in the bubble in order to pass school because I was a real donkey coming out of high school. Didn't have good grades. So one of the reasons why I went the WHL route versus NCAA, just because I would have just been a flash in the pan if I think I went to school at 18 or 17 or whatever. So when I got to U of A, I had to stay in a dorm because Fort Saskatchewan would be too far away. Too much of a commute. I'd lose too much time studying. I needed every minute I could get. So those guys would come watch the games, and they would stand on the glass, and they would, there's I think 40 or 60 of them. And another player also lived in the dorm, Derek Ryan. He lived there the year before I did, and so obviously he plays in the NHL. And they would come and watch the two of us, and Ryan would do all the scoring, and I would do all the hitting. So they were pretty rowdy. They got the fans going. Kind of the college corner in a way, and we'd have big games against Calgary or U of S, and it would be packed and it'd be rowdy, and so some good memories there. But they had a good kind of cog in the wheel of making that rink more exciting than it was.
Like, that was probably mostly when say you hit someone, would it like the barn just go crazy?
Barn go bananas. There's, I think on YouTube, there's a U of A highlight reel clip, and it's against U of C, and I catch this guy right at the blue line, right by our bench, and it was a very, very hard, very loud hit. And I just remember how loud the rink was after, and we broke the puck out of our zone. We turned it a quick neutral zone regroup after that hit, and or D zone regroup. And I just remember skating up the ice, and they were on the glass like this, shaking and pounding the glass as we went in. I just remember being like, "Oh my God, this is crazy!" So they brought a lot of energy. And I tried to make sure I brought some energy too, with a couple bone shattering hits out there.
Do you have a favorite city that you liked to live in?
Yeah, you know what? If I was to live kind of anywhere, and in my experience of playing hockey, there's definitely a few places I would live. If money was no issue, I would live in, for sure. I would probably live somewhere in BC, Vancouver, Victoria. I think that would be a pretty amazing climate to be around in year round, especially when you're playing hockey and it's beautiful outside. You only really get to experience that in playoff hockey in the prairies, or even in some places in BC. The other place I would live in would be South Carolina, minus the hurricanes. That was some scary moments down there. But that or Texas. I really enjoyed Texas. Texas is like Alberta with legal guns. Legal carry guns. So I've had some cool experiences there. Had some shooting ranges. Don't like going to a driving range. You just walk across the parking lot with all your guns and ammo and go shoot some targets. So that was a kind of a cool experience playing hockey. If I would have went to Europe, I'm sure there'd be some places in Europe. I have some teammates that played in Budapest, in Hungary. They said that was an amazing place. I had an opportunity to go play there, but I chose to stick in North America. But I think if I traveled over there, there'd definitely be a few European destinations that I would be putting my heels up at.
Do you still follow any of your old teams?
I do. I still have the Komets on my feed. I still have the Gladiators on my feed. I follow the Ice, the Winnipeg Ice now. Traders don't exist anymore. I think I was the second last year of that existing. And then obviously I also follow the Bears. I try to go out and make at least a couple games a year to go and say hi to the guys, go bring them some beers, whatever. Try to be a good alumni, the best that I can with the amount of time that I have. But yeah, you always follow teammates that you were close to, especially my school guys. You know, it's a brotherhood that you're a part of, and when you make to a professional rank, it can be the relationships can be pretty fluid. So depending on how close you were with somebody, is kind of how close you're going to follow their career. But there's still some guys that I snap on a regular basis and keep in touch with, and see how things are going, and all those good memories that just kind of keep going on. That when you're in that part of the country, you have somebody to go share a beer with, or hang out with, or go play some golf with. Hopefully you're meeting them in the summer, not the winter. So you can have a little bit more fun. But yeah, it kind of gives you good nostalgia of what the rinks were like, and makes you miss it, but doesn't really make you wish you were there again because of how incredibly sore you were every single morning.
If you could steal any player's skill, what would it be and from who?
If I could steal, that's a sick question, man. Any player's skill. You know what? I feel like I stole Erik Karlsson's lack of give a crap meter of defensive zone coverage when I was playing senior hockey. I told the guys that I was no longer a defenseman, I was an offenseman. Meaning I was like the fourth forward on the ice. So I really kind of changed my game. I could still play defense, but I had a lot more fun playing at that level than I had playing at any other level, just because I was like, you know what? He looks like he has a ton of fun, and he scores a ton of goals, and he does cool stuff on the ice. So I adapted that lack of stress, I guess, skill, and just kind of went for it. But I think if I was to have a true skill, I would choose Nathan McKinnon's explosiveness and shot. Like, whenever you just see him do stuff, you're like, oh my God, man. If you were a whole team of hockey players, I don't think all the Connor McDavids in the world would beat you, because he's got it all. He's got size, skill, speed, meanness, shot. He's got it all, man. I think he's one of my favorite forwards to watch, for sure. So I think if I was to choose one package, it'd be Nathan McKinnon.
What was your favorite hockey team growing up, and do you have a favorite memory of that team?
My favorite hockey team, Oilers. Even though they suck, God, they suck. They always suck. Maybe that's bad. Maybe that's just too much bad, like, juju put on them. That's why they blow so much. But I love them, man. You got to love your home team. You always got to root for your boys. So I would say that I have a couple good memories of going and watching some Oiler games. Like, first Oiler game, unbelievable memory. There's an Oiler game that I went and watched with my dad. We went and had a whole bunch of beers at the game, and just, like, it was an electric game. We had great seats. That was really, really fun. Had another one with a buddy that I went with at the old Coliseum at Rexall. That was a blast. But yeah, I haven't been to too many NHL rinks. I played in Rexall. I played in the Saddle Dome. Watching, I went down to Texas and I watched the Stars play. I had a billet brother-in-law play for the Stars, so that was a cool experience. That was an interesting rink to go and be in. But yeah, Oilers, I gotta cheer for them, even though they're brutal. I don't know who would be a second, though. I don't know. I think I would pick it on likeness of jersey and maybe player. So maybe San Jose would be my second favorite team. Tampa Bay would be another favorite team, just based upon jerseys, based upon a few key players like Hedman and Karlsson and those guys. So,
do you have a favorite NHL player?
I do. I have a few. I have a few favorite NHL players. So my all-time favorite NHL player is Scott Stevens. I emulated my game after his. Back when hitting to the head was a thing, I dented a couple of cages, probably more than I should have. There's probably some young boys out there with a lot of headaches before concussions were a real thing. You had to be, like, pretty concussed to be diagnosed with a concussion back then. You had to be, like, pretty loopy. So seeing stars was a regular thing when I played hockey. It was kind of like a suck it up Don't be you know what, get back out there. So Scott Stevens, he was my favorite by far. He just did the most damage. He was a badass. He was also a good leader. He kind of taught me some stuff on just like being a more intense, intimidating, ruthless hockey player, based upon like how you look at guys, like turning your light switch on. There's a good Rock'em Sock'em video where they talk about it, and they talk about how his wife can't sit down by the glass anymore because of her husband's eyes. She's like, I can't stare at him. They're too scary. So that was something that I took to my game that I really, really thought was like, an ace up my sleeve. Other players, Eric Carlson, he's sick. Just the way he skates, how he moves as a D-man. Lundqvist, another sick D-man. Just won the cup. I didn't realize he's so big, which kind of makes me like him even more. PK Subban, I like PK Subban. I just like his energy. I like his cockiness. I like his swagger. I definitely enjoy that. I was that kind of player when I would show up to the rink, like wooing it up when I came in, look good, feel good, smell good, perform good. That's PK Subban in a nutshell. So I really like him. Forwards, Nathan McKinnon. I just think he's got it all. He's got it all. And after that, it kind of drops off quite quick. So I have a good bunch, but Scott Stevens is he's my guy. He's the guy I would definitely wear his jersey.
If you could compare your game to someone in the NHL, who would it be?
Right now, oh boy, it depends when I was playing. Realistically, it depends when I was playing. I would say if I was to compare my game when I was playing at U of A, it'd be like a Shea Weber. It'd be somebody who's a little bit more defensive, somebody that played the body a lot, somebody who was really mean. Scott Stevens would probably be a good example. When I was playing professional hockey, a little bit more offensive, a little bit more of a risk taker. And then when I was playing senior hockey, it'd be Eric Carlson all day long, with a little bit of backbone in there, a little bit meaner than Eric Carlson, but definitely more rushing the puck and taking risks and laughing at the goalie when he got scored on because I wasn't back there, just being like, "Come on, man, save the puck." Don't worry, we'll score 10. If they score 9, we'll score 10. Don't worry about it. We'll score 10. So definitely a different attitude as I kind of moved along in my career in regards to how I was playing.
Do you have a favorite hockey brand such as Bauer, Warrior, CCM, like that?
I definitely do. I have certain brands for certain things. And this is like, I bet you when you talk to more hockey players, I bet you they're going to say the same thing. That's a good question, man. CCM, all my gear, CCM. Like shin pads, elbow pads. I like their stuff the most. CCM all the way. Skates, I just got True Skates. So I'm going to have to go with True Skates or Bauer. I skated in Bauer for a really long time. Which just changed to True Skates. They're deadly. They're like wild, unlike anything I've ever worn before. Kind of like wearing ski boots. They're crazy, but they're already broken in after 2 skates, so that's nuts. And then I would say sticks. If I could choose a stick, I would go Bauer all day long. I think they have the sickest twigs. I used CCM my entire career. I used Easton's when I was in the WHL, and they were brutal. But if I could choose a stick, I would choose Bauer. Even though I have like 80 sticks, I would trade them all in for Bauer's. So, and then helmet. I like the new Bauer helmets. I think those are sweet. I also like the new True helmets. I think those are cool too. I like how they have the silver kind of flash in the front. I think those look pretty dope. So, and then visors, any type of small, little tiny visor, like that big. So I had one of those when I played in Fort Wayne. I loved it. Now I have this windshield, which is probably a better idea now that I'm playing men's league.
What's your favorite food?
Favorite food? I'm a garburator, so I could eat anything. You put it in front of me, especially if it tastes good. I'm gonna let you know. Um, but if I was to choose a last meal, maybe my mom's lasagna. Although Kristen makes pretty damn good lasagna now. I think she was talking to my mom. She makes some pretty good lasagna. Love pizza. Love pizza. Should probably make a protein source in here somewhere. Um, Steak, can't go wrong with a good steak, or ribs, smoked ribs. Ooh. And I'm also a huge fan of salmon. I really enjoy eating salmon. I could eat salmon like 7 days a week. Uh, Certified freak. There you go. Not many people would say that.
What is your pregame meal?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. I would eat like chicken rice and vegetables. That'd be like 20-minute meal right there. Or salmon, rice, and vegetables. Huge fan of salmon, rice, and vegetables before hockey. Like that was probably my go-to meal was salmon rice. Like who the hell would eat salmon before going and playing hockey?
You?
Every time, man. I just like right in there. It's like so fast. It'd be done before my rice would be done. So it was something that I could time manage really well. And I think that's something that learning through school and something that you're gonna learn as you move through hockey, that your time is really valuable. And making a really efficient meal that works well for you is going to be kind of important. It's like going to the gas station and filling up with the right gas and the right amount of gas so you're not too weighed down, and away you go. So salmon and rice I would probably say that would be the number one pregame meal.
Do you cook or would you rather someone cook for you?
I love cooking. I'm pretty creative in the kitchen. I like to, make interesting meals. I like to try new things. I'm definitely somebody at a restaurant that would try something, then go back for the same thing every single time, even though you always have your favorites. It is nice being cooked for, though, man. You should know this. It's nice sitting down. Everything's made, good to go. But I would rather cook. I enjoy cooking. It's something that you always have more pride in terms of your meals and how they look and how they taste and all that kind of stuff. So I'll go with on the cooking side, because that also means that you don't have to do as many dishes.
Do you have a favorite pump up or warm up song?
Not really. I don't. I like listening to like dance, electro, EDM music, something with like a high BPM. It usually gets me pretty fired up. Don't listen to too much rock and roll or anything like that. I like listening to some like country after we win, though. I like listening to country after you win, because it's usually like it's kind of time to like bring things down. I enjoy that. I don't really like listening to rap music before games. It's too much for me. It's too much. So I rather listen to EDM, electro stuff before a game, and then country, something a little bit tamer after, something chiller.
Who was the best player you ever played with?
Best player ever played with, Derek Ryan, for sure. He's sick. Chad Klassen, he'd be another guy from U of A. He didn't go anywhere. But unbelievable hockey player. It just kind of like blows my mind how he didn't go anywhere. He was phenomenal. Other players who I played with who were just like unbelievable. Tyler Wyman, unbelievable goalie. Like unbelievable. You couldn't score on him. When I was playing senior hockey, that's all I tried to do was score on him. And I would woo it up so hard, and I didn't score very many. So, he was pretty phenomenal. After that, Mitchell Hurd, he was crazy. He was like the craziest guy I ever played with. He could do it all: fight, score, hit. get rocked, keep going. He was pretty amazing. Trying to think here. Most phenomenal players, like just unbelievable skill. I would have to leave it at those guys. There wasn't too many incredible defensemen that I played with that I was just like in shock and awe. But he was pretty darn good. Pretty darn good.
Who was the best player you ever played against?
Best player ever played against. These are tough questions because there's a lot of good hockey players played against. Guys that made me look bad. There's a few. Let me tell you. You know what? It was kind of a combination. There was a couple players. There was one guy who played for the Florida Everblades. I think he was their captain. He was just a big man, and he could just get it done. Yeah, just a crazy one-timer. Really heavy guy, mean guy. There's a couple other really fast players I had played against when I played down south that I was just like, awesome. I'm going to have no gap against you. So I can't remember their names, but pretty incredible. Eric Faye, he was somebody that was another really good hockey player that I played with and actually ended up playing against as well. So I'll kind of leave it at that. There was not too many unbelievable forwards or unbelievable players that I played against, but there's a lot of really good hockey players. Like really good hockey players. I probably didn't play at high enough of a level to really experience the gap in top line, top power play, top all that kind of stuff of the AHL, NHL guys. Everyone kind of at my level was just really solid, like really good. There was really not too many outstanding players, not in my division anyways.
Was there one player that stood out to you that could have been great if he could have just taken it more serious and trained harder?
Yes, there was. There was a player who just kind of like let it go down the drain. He was this trying to think of his name right now. He's a native hockey player who I actually played against in senior hockey as well. Unbelievable speed. His shot was incredible. His size was huge, but like he just couldn't figure out the systems. He couldn't play a game plan. I don't think he ever came back over the red line. Let's just put it that way. So that doesn't really get you too far. You kind of have to be a 200-foot player, regardless if you are the best guy or the worst guy. And he was somebody that I was just like, dude, you are so good at hockey, but like, God, you are so dumb. Like, you don't know what you have. Another player would be one that I strongly believe could have went to the NHL was Jesse Dudas. He was a guy that I played with all through minor hockey. He had every skill available. Size, strength, speed, everything. And he was a guy who just couldn't like put it together. Like went to NHL camps, the whole 9 yards, and just couldn't do it. God, I wish I could remember that one guy's name. He was so sick. Like he roasted me. Let's put it that way. This is why I remember this. He roasted me. And then I just remember watching him in the game being like, what are you doing? But Jesse was another guy. He's a buddy of mine playing hockey. I just remember always looking at him being like, if I had your size, I could go somewhere. Like I could play in the NHL easily. But he plays in Europe. I think he's played over there for the last 10 years. So it's not that he hasn't made something of his hockey career. He had the opportunity, I believe, to play in the NHL, and it just kind of slipped through his fingers.
Is there a time that you had to make a big decision in your hockey career, and what was it?
Yeah, there's a couple really big decisions in my hockey career. One was stopping high-risk behavior. That was one. At 15, I had to stop all of it. So I got drafted when I was 14 to Kootenay. And it's not like I was going skiing every other weekend like some kids do, but I used to backyard wrestle. This is kind of funny. I used to backyard wrestle. I used to jump off roofs. I used to have ladder matches in a driveway with like cardboard boxes set up. Like I did some like stupid stuff. And once I started that, I stopped doing that kind of stuff. So I didn't go skiing from grade 7 until I was 30. So that's like 18 years, 17 years. So like that's a long time. So that was a big decision because if I got hurt, that means guys were getting better than me and putting in more training than me, and I didn't want to let that happen. I probably missed out on a lot of really cool opportunities and experiences, but I don't really regret it. The other kind of huge decision was when I was in school to leave school to go to a NHL camp. I knew they were just calling me to fill a roster. They didn't really actually want me there, or else they would have drafted me or signed me. So that was a big decision to tell the Arizona Coyotes to pound sand. And it was actually kind of a pretty egotistical conversation that I had. I thought of myself pretty highly, but at the same time, I could kind of like see through the BS. And I just remember telling him, if you wanted me, you would have called me 2 months ago. I'm already like 3.5 weeks into school. Like, why didn't you call me in July? Why are you calling me now? So that was a conversation that I had on my way to my human anatomy class. So again, I wasn't a great student. So if I would have left school, I would have failed out easily. I wouldn't have done very well. I didn't have the skills to be a really good student at that time. And then the last decision was to finish my degree instead of going back to play for the Condors after I played for them for 10 days. They wanted me to come back to play playoffs, and I would have, but I had to finish school. So that's on me. I'm not doing enough school during the summer to get my degree done. And then the last one was to retire. I didn't have to retire, but I just kind of felt a lot of pressure to start my life. So those are the kind of the 4 or 5 big decisions I had to make through my hockey career, and there's lots of little ones in there that kind of shape those decisions in themselves. But those are all kind of choices that you're going to have to make yourself. And the kind of the best piece of advice I could give you is trust your gut. If you feel uneasy about it, then you gotta trust your gut, and you gotta go with kind of your character and who you are and where you came from, versus just trying to make an impulse decision to say like, yeah, that's cool, I'm gonna do it. Whether that's something high risk, whether that's something life-changing, whether that's something that's going to kind of take you somewhere down a different road, I'd say trust your gut. But at the same time, it's, you got to take chances to be successful too. So I took some chances in saying no, and I've taken some chances in saying yes. And thank God that it worked out because I had that work ethic behind me.
Do you think you made do you think you made the right decisions?
I think if I had one decision that I kind of, I wouldn't say regret, but I wish I would have pursued, was I wish I would have went to Europe after Atlanta. I think if I would have went there after, I would have probably had a pretty long career over there. I was one of my buddies actually just retired, Jonathan Hardy. There's a guy, Jonathan Hardy. There's a guy who, unbelievable defenseman. That was somebody who I would not want to go down his side or be in his corner. There's my guy for a D-man. He played a really long career. Him and I had we're basically like identical defensemen. When we played together, it was like who could flip guys over their back more in a hockey game. It was crazy. Yeah, I think if I would have went and played there, I could have had a pretty lengthy career. But he's it all comes to an end at one point or the other. So he's at a crossroads in his career of now starting his civilian life. So he's somebody that I'm actually going to reach out to and see if he needs my help and kind of my experience as well.
Do you have a favorite hockey memory that stands out to you?
Mm-hmm. 100%. I have 3. First one, winning my championship with U of A. Took 5 years to do. That was probably my most dominant tournament I've ever played. Like the amount of body checks that I had was insane. Like it's just like a highlight reel of me just crushing guys. It was unbelievable. The will that I had to win was like you could cut my arm off and I would have like grown a new one or just beat you at the wet end. Like it didn't matter. Whatever was going to happen, I wasn't going to lose. I was willing to lose everything to win. And those guys are kind of dangerous. So that's one of the reasons why we won, because we had players like myself on that team who were willing to do absolutely anything to win. So that was one experience. My next experience would be winning my senior AAA championship. That was another one where there's just nothing was going to stop me in winning. And you know what? In that tournament, I did like not a whole lot. I played actually a support role. I had to change who I was to be a winner. So that was a really good memory of being supportive instead of being kind of like the head of the blitzkrieg, just kind of like rushing everything. So the last experience would be my final goal as a professional hockey player. So it's even on my website. It's like 9 seconds to go. We're on the power play. It's tied 2-2. And I get the puck at the point, and it's a full back scratcher, top corner, in and out of the net before the goalie can kind of move. And then the horn goes off, and all the guys just came around and are like, you have to retire now. And I was like, yes. I was like, there's no way I could come back and play hockey again because you can't go out on a higher note. That was probably one of the coolest things that I did in hockey based upon the scenario.
Do you miss playing pro hockey?
Yes and no. It's stressful. It's very stressful. Your job is based upon your body and your mind. So there's a lot of stress in taking care of yourself because you never play at 100%. I was always hurt. I wasn't injured, but I was hurt. So bum shoulders, smashed up hands, smashed up face, bruises, bumps, strains, muscle soreness, the whole 9 yards. You're a piece of meat. So they treat you like it. They treat you well, but you're a piece of meat. If you don't produce, they find somebody else. So that's something that I don't miss about it, but I definitely miss the lifestyle. Go play hockey for a couple hours a day. The rest of the day is yours to go and do whatever you want to do, train, have fun, go be a tourist wherever you are. That's why I always tell kids and athletes, hockey isn't just a job. It's also a vehicle. It can take you all over the United States. It can take you all over North America. It can take you all over Europe. It can fill your bank account. It can fill your life with invaluable experiences that you would have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to do as a regular person. So in that kind of context, I wish I would have played longer so I could have seen more of the world.
How old were you when you moved out? And were you nervous moving out and staying with billets?
That's a good question. I moved out when I was 16, and I would have left when I was 15. I made the team, but they were just like, you're just too young. We want you to season one more year. They're like, but you would have fit in. But at 16, I made the team, but then I got hurt. And the funny thing is, Jace, I never called my parents once. I was just like, I had no homesickness. And the reason why was because I was living my dream. I was fully in love with what I was doing. I didn't care if I got beat up. I didn't care if I sat on the bench. I was living my dream. I was like, this is exactly what I was born to do, was to play hockey and do it. And, that's even at the WHL, my parents would always have to call me. I rarely called my parents. I'd only call my parents after games. Wouldn't call them during the week. Maybe call them before a game, but that was about it. Living away from home wasn't a huge struggle for me. I had good billets, who I still talk to. So that kind of helped out quite a bit. But I was also a person that, like, if you're homesick, you don't really love what you're doing then. If you're ready to kind of get kicked out of the nest and flap your wings and be your own person and love what you're doing, then you know that you're probably going to go a whole lot farther than people that are homesick. I always had a hard time with understanding why people were homesick. It's like, don't you love why you're here? Don't you love what you're doing? Don't you love playing in front of all these people and in this rink and getting all this free equipment and, you know, doing community service and all this kind of stuff? And some guys don't. Some guys just like being home with mommy and daddy, and that was something that that just didn't bug me. Didn't bug me at all. It didn't matter if I didn't see my parents for 10 months because I was doing something that I loved. And that was, I think, something that was hard for them. But once I told them my perspective, it helped them a lot in understanding that if they heard from me a lot, then they knew something was up. And there were some times that I did need them. I did need their support. But for the most part, they barely heard from me. I was like a ghost. It was like they got rid of their son. Their grocery bill went way down. So yeah, but they always came to watch me play, and I always spent time with them at the rinks, but never homesick, never had those issues.
Lastly, do you have any advice that you could give to me for my hockey career?
I do. Love what you're doing. Love the process. There's one thing that I learned from Ian Herbers, and it's like, you have to meet him once just to get the jokes, but very monotonic kind of guy. Just one level with him. They never got excited, never got mad. His joke was with the boys. It's trust the process. So if any Bears guys hear that one, they'll laugh about it. But trust the process, man, and enjoy the process. If you don't enjoy the process, you won't ever enjoy the journey, and that's the biggest part of it is the journey of where you are now and where you want to go and what you want to do. I'm training athletes right now who some enjoy the process, and they will go a lot farther than those who don't enjoy the process and who always stop and recheck and reassess during the process. And what I mean by that is there are kids that will just keep pushing, and it doesn't matter how much it hurts. It doesn't matter how much the load is or how far the distance is. They're just going to keep pushing and putting one foot in front of the other, regardless of the condition that they're in at the moment. And there are kids that will stop and take breaks and look at their hands and have those kind of moments where they doubt themselves the entire time. And those are ones that won't go very far. Because there are lots of moments where you're going to doubt yourself, and there are lots of moments where the only person you have is yourself. And if you can enjoy how shitty the moment is, and you can enjoy how tough it is, and you can enjoy how stressful it is, and you can enjoy that you're going to be doing something that only a very, very small portion of society is able to do, then you'll quickly fall in love with the idea of that I am a part of a select group that can do this and you're not. So even though I didn't make hundreds of thousands of dollars playing hockey, I still played at a level that only a select portion of society was ever able to do. So even though I may have never had an NHL contract or anything like that, I still had to do every single thing that NHLers have to do. It didn't matter. The difference between me and them is very, very small. And the reality is that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it just as much as they enjoyed it. And that's something that for you to learn is going to be an invaluable lesson to propel yourself, to push yourself, because those really tough moments are the ones that you're going to look back on and you're going to say, thank God I didn't quit. Thank God I pushed forward. Thank God I told myself I love this versus I hate this. Because if you hate it, it's like putting a giant piano on your ass. It just weighs you down, versus saying I love this is just going to keep yourself moving forward in the direction of being a professional or riding the hockey train as long as possible before you make a transition into not being a hockey player anymore. So that's the biggest piece of advice I can give you is trust the process, Jace. Trust the process and love the process. Love the early mornings, love the training sessions, love working out, love being on the rink by yourself, love playing at the outdoor rink, especially the outdoor rink. Love playing that because that's where your passion is fostered the most, and love, not being the best player on the hockey team all the time, because that's what's going to allow you to be a driven athlete to then go be the best player. So that's the best piece of advice that I could possibly give you over any type of skill acquisition thing that you could acquire.
So Ian, I want to thank you for taking this time with me. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the holidays and have a Merry Christmas.
Thanks, big guy, and thanks for having me on your YouTube channel, or I believe this is a YouTube channel, correct? You're creating YouTube out of this? Yeah, sick. So I'll make sure I promote it for you. I know I love to talk, so Jesus, I'm sure your ears are done hearing my voice. So thank you so much. Thanks for having me on, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all the best to you when I get to see you again.
Glad to see you too. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, buddy. So Jason,